Now, why did you decide to do a deep dive on the Idaho case? With this
It was
guy?
a number of reasons. First off, I started covering Idaho on national news platforms. I've been on, I think, every single one of them. I'm pretty sure I have been. Every major network, I think, over that period of time. I started covering this thing the day after it happened. I think I was up at probably, matter of fact, there's like a show that Fox does that's a precursor to Fox and Friends. I don't even know if they still do Fox and Friends, but
yeah, I didn't know anything about this case until a couple weeks ago. I started seeing the guy's face on TV, and I guess it happened a long time ago. And
2002 November
2002, and then I knew nothing until Julian told me about it. Shout out Julian Dory introducing us.
God bless him. Yeah, please check him out.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He is a good guy.
He knew everything. When I listened to you guys discuss this, and he knew every single detail. He knew like the kid's freaking first, last, and middle name, every single one of them. He knew what they all had for breakfast that morning. I don't know anything about this case.
From a personal perspective, let me tell you why this case affected me. And I cover a lot of cases, all right, in the news. This case affected me personally, which is not a good idea, because I'm a college professor, and my son at that point in time was a sophomore in college. And the university where I teach in Alabama, Jacksonville State, was it's roughly the same size as their university. It's a rural university. Many first-generation students, those sorts of things. We have that commonality. These are not kids that are striving to get into Harvard. These are kids that are looking to get a degree so they can go out into the world and be a nurse or a teacher, or, they just want to live that solid middle class life, or business degree, and so we had a lot of similarities with that. And when the information began to kind of leach out, if you will, regarding the suspected brutality that had taken place in this house, and no one knew who did it, because this place is in such an isolated spot that they don't have this kind of thing happen. It's not like it's in downtown Philly, all right? No insult to Philly, but I'm just saying it's not like you've got this huge population of suspects that are out there. You're going to have kind of a very narrow, spectrum here. Who would do this? And, there are all kinds of things that were floating around at that point in time, that it was there was allegedly had been a fight at a fraternity, which this house, the off-campus house, was not too far away from Fraternity Row. Then we heard about stalkers. Then we heard about jealous boyfriends. We heard this litany of who people thought that it could be. But for me, I began to look at this thing, and it broke my heart for these families and, the kids, but the families, because families are left behind. And you send your kid off to college, you don't expect them to be stabbed 50 times, which it turns out one of these victims was.
One of them was stabbed 50?
Yeah, another was stabbed over 30 with disfigurement, blunt force trauma to the face, and sharp force injuries to her face as well. It's hard to comprehend that's going to happen. And in this weird house that they lived in, it's like if you go to any college campus, pretty much you're going to have weirdo housing that surrounds it. You're going to have, these off-campus rental homes that have been lived in by generations of people that have gone to school there, and they do these weird add-ons. This thing was particularly weird because it was built, the original house was built where it was kind of carved into a bank, like a hill.
Right.
And it was originally a 2-story structure, and then they added a third layer. I'd actually been on the air on one program with a gentleman who was the former attorney general for the state of Idaho, as well as former lieutenant governor of Idaho. And dig this, man, he had actually been to this house before, because one of his fraternity brothers, he was there for homecoming. One of his fraternity brothers his kid was living in the same house years ago when it was only a 2-story structure. And he was even telling us then, it's like, yeah, it was kind of a weird, but you expect that at a college town, because landlords want to try to squeeze as many butts into these places as they can to make a dime.
Exactly.
Nothing wrong with that, brother. And so they added this third floor.
Slumlords.
Yeah. And, I began to think about it from, how did this person know the layout of the structure? Because it's this weird thing where they've got on what would be called the ground level, there's a parking pad where you can park your car. There's a digital pad to gain access to the bottom floor door. Apparently everybody knew the passcode for this thing.
Of course.
Yeah, it's college, man.
Right.
They're not gonna.
Kids are going in and out.
Yeah.
Boyfriends, ex-boyfriends,
showing up for parties and whatnot. And the second
drug dealers.
no comment. But yeah, you're right. Anybody that wanted to come in there, hey, there's going to be a party at so and so. You don't know who's going to be in the house.
Right.
I mean, it could be anybody.
Sure, of course.
Second floor had sliding glass doors, and that was facing the remainder of the hill. You could step off of that second floor through the sliders and walk up the hill behind the house.
It was like woods behind the house or something?
Yeah, it's kind of like a tree line. And if you imagine kind of an amphitheater style, that's the way I've always envisioned it, kind of.
Steve, see if you can find a diagram of the house to give us a cool visual, or like I'm sure there's been like recreations or animations of the whole thing that shows like the house on the hill with all that and the bedroom layout.
You look at this thing, and when I think my first true view of it was an old Zillow view of it, where,
wow.
you're trying to rent the thing. People, they had this view of all of these rooms. I say, geez, man, in the dark of night, somebody's going to negotiate this thing when all the lights are off in the house. When all the lights are off in the house, how do you have that kind of information?
Steve, that's like one floor. See if you can find like a side view of the whole. There we go. That's like a 3D view right there.
Okay.
Well, keep looking. Find some. Yeah. Sorry. Continue.
How are you going to know how to navigate your way through this? Because if you enter on the parking pad, you go up, there's a landing, you kind of switch back and go up, and there's a second floor up there. Then once you get to the second floor, which you've got 2 bedrooms in the bottom, you got 2 bedrooms on the second floor. In addition to that, you've also got like a great room that's a dining area, kitchen. It's like a fireplace, so it's like a gathering area. There's, matter of fact, there's kind of this famous shot where you can look through the window and see the table in the dining area. It's covered with Solo cups.
Beer pong.
Yeah, exactly. You're thinking, well, these kids,
There we go.
Yeah. So when you look at that, you can see the interior of the place. And in addition to that, you appreciate that there's another staircase that goes up internally where you're going to have to negotiate that third floor and try to understand who's up there.
Right.
How are you going to be able to do that without having prior knowledge of this place?
Pause it on the view of the house, Steve, that you were just on. Okay. So it's a maze. For somebody who's not intimately familiar with the house, or hasn't been there before, it would be tough.
That hasn't been there before, it would be tough. Yes. Yeah. And what's really kind of chilling about this, and again, this is one thing that really kind of really impacted me. There's this TikTok that these girls that lived here put together, and they're imitating one another. Like it's a comedy kind of thing that they're doing, where they're imitating, how the behavior of their roommates. This one is very stoic. This one is like always anxious. This sort of thing. They're imitating one another. And Danny, the entire time, this thing is like panning around, and everybody had access to this. it's like panning around. You can kind of see the layout of that second floor. And it was so chilling to me in the world that we currently live in. I don't know about you, man, but it's like the place I lived in college. You wouldn't know anything about the interior of my house unless I specifically invited you over. Maybe you were one of my buddies, came over, we drank beer together, hung out. Other than that, it's not going to be broadcast to the entire damn world. And so you have
And they were posting these TikToks before the murder happened.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, what year did this happen again?
2022.
2022, okay.
Yeah. 2022. So you've got this environment, and people have an awareness of the interior of this thing. I think the big question, and maybe one of the things that is going to be, I don't know if it'll ever be answered at this point, but what knowledge, what foreknowledge did he have of this place, this reptile that went in there and did this?
Yeah.
What kind of knowledge did he have of the layout of it? And there's been a lot of talk about this individual had cruised by this house multiple times in the preceding weeks. They pinged his phone at a variety of locations, or found it, that he's kind of circling the area. Did he ever make his way in there? And if he is in a hide above the house, okay, and I dig this, he's in that back area. He's in that brush line. At night, it's like going to a drive-in movie.
Because the house is all lit up and it's
All
glass
lit up.
walls.
Yeah. And so Kaylee and Maddie that are in the top bedroom, it's believed that one of the two of them were his actual target. Most people believe it was Maddie.
Do we have any idea why he would have targeted one of those girls? Again, for people who are familiar with this case,
vegan.
I'm sorry for the dumb questions.
No. He's a vegan, and there's a restaurant in Moscow, which I found out you have to pronounce Moscow, not Moscow. They take exception to that, so you have to think Costco. So Moscow. She worked at the Mad Greek restaurant, and some people believe that he had contact with her there, saw her there. That's just one theory that's been thrown out. There's multitude of other theories, everything from...
He was a vegan.
Yeah, he was, and he makes a big deal out of it. The old adage about how do you know somebody's a vegan? They tell you.
Right.
Yeah. And so they had a vegan menu. The question is, I think one of the big questions is, this lizard was a student in Pullman, Washington, at Washington State University, which by all accounts is only 10 miles away. Mm-hmm. When the hell are you doing in Moscow, Idaho?
Right.
And he is at the beginning of his PhD program. For people that are not familiar with PhD programs, particularly if you're thinking about like something like criminology, which he went there to study, for your first year, you're like an indentured servant, and you have a supervisor. You're assisting with teaching, which he was a TA. You're meeting with an advisor. It's very labor intensive, but yet he's got enough time to go to, and again, it's only 10 miles away. Some people say 8, 10, drive across state lines, and then kind of orbit this one location over and over and over again. What's up with that relative to his behaviors? Because if he is in a PhD program, he's committed to it. How do you have time to do this?
Yeah.
Because the work is so very intense.
This guy had no history of any weird stuff, nothing.
He was a former heroin addict.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know if that feeds into it. I know former
me
heroin
too.
addicts that don't go in and commit mass murder. Some of the most gentle people I know had a problem with heroin in the past, and they kicked it.
Yeah.
So that's not, I don't think you can use that to indict him.
Definitely not.
But he sent out questionnaires. He had gone to undergraduate and graduate school at DeSales University in Pennsylvania, which is where he hails from. And he had sent out this questionnaire to violent offenders in prisons. And it was, and I mean really violent offenders, asking them questions about, what did you feel? What did you feel, before you committed this act? What did you feel after you committed this act? Oh, by the way, what did you do to clean up? What did you do to, get any evidence, get rid of any? And that was kind of the nature of this questionnaire. And the thing about it is you can take that and kind of mask it in academic pursuits and push that thing out there like that.